So I have to start with the most important question up front. I know that Zack watched a lot of Game of Thrones, and because he cast a lot of people from Game of Thrones in this movie. So really, I have to ask you, how did you get cast? Because you were not in Game of Thrones.
How did I get cast? Well, here we come to find out that Zack has been working on this for, almost a centuries. I mean, but 3 decades.
As long as Game of Thrones.
Yes. For 3 decades, he's been working on this. And I come to get a call about Rebel Moon, and I'm talking to him, and I've come to find out that it seems like we've worked together with, before. And when he was still in film school, I used to go to that film school as a model, in my early days in California, as a model to pose for those film students. Right. And so fast forward to, I guess, 3 decades later.
33 years later.
33 years later. And here we are with Rebel Moon.
Totally.
Right.
Individual question for both of you. I like throwing a curve at the beginning also. If I'm butchering all my questions, I'm going to start with, if someone has never seen a Zack Snyder movie, take out Rebel Moon, because everyone's going to watch. If someone's never seen a Zack Snyder movie, what's the one you think they should start with?
Well, I would always go to 300.
Yeah, I think so too.
I was always going to 300. 300 really marked me as an audience and also as an actor. He was the tremendous creative input in that film. Really, I mean, it spoke volume to a lot of people in the world. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Had such an impact. Yeah. And so that would be
the one.
Yeah, the one I would pick.
I'd have to second that, and I just remember he finds such a beautiful balance of beauty and brutality. It's just like, I can't swear, can I?
You can actually.
Fucking cool thing to achieve, you know what I mean? And also, like, you look at 300 and there's Fassbender, there's Butler, there's all these, a lot of the time with action movies, we back in the day, we wouldn't cast dramatic actors or stuff like that. And it's wonderful to see a world where all these genres are colliding, where action, dramatic actors are taking their shot at action. And also he was one of the first people I remember being like, okay, he really takes physical aesthetics seriously. Like, that's a real big part of his ethos in creating these warriors. We're not CGIing this stuff. You're going to emulate that by personifying that physically. And I think that's why I really love 300.
Jumping into Rebel Moon. So I am curious, what is something in part 1 that you cannot wait for audiences to see? And what is something in part 2 you can't wait for audiences to see?
Part 1, I think Veldt is so, I know it features potentially even more in part 2, but I think Veldt is such a physical feat to have achieved, just for context, it's 3 to 5 acres of really built village, river that was been man-made by Zack, mined into the desert. I mean, it reminds me of those big sets of Lord of the Rings and all that stuff. And it's such a beautiful thing to fall in love with, the romance of it. And for the second movie, it's our backstories. I think that's not second movie, part 2 of movie 1, technically. Yeah. It's our backstories. It's an opportunity to really delve into the individual, the characters, how they intersect, why they're really here. And, you really get a bit more of an over-ending kind of feeling for every all of them, the misfits.
I concur.
Is there anything that you, in both films?
Part 2 has more to offer, I think, especially about, each of our characters and how we, come together, against, various, obstacles and challenges. And how do we all evolve out of that? And so I think part 2 is, and part 2 also, I mean, this is the genie from Zack, the fact that he cast a it's no surprise that he went, almost globally doing his cast. Of course, Staz is, half Russian and Indian. I, of course, originally from West Africa. And literally the way he wrote the story, I could feel the, of course, the geopolitical tentacles of Africa, that been holding the continent of Africa back for centuries. I could feel that coming off the page. Like literally, I felt like he's telling my story. You see?
Sure.
So, and that said, also the fact that I was cast, and part of the requirement for me was for me to sing, but I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. wait to see this. Yeah, part 2 is more characters, more war. It's beautiful. It's the culmination, because it's what we're seeing, and we're watching the rise, right?
So with making this film, you shot for like 153 days. It was like a marathon.
It was 153 days.
Right. So
was it
153 days?
Oh yeah.
We capped out at about 140, 130, you and I, but yeah.
So my thing is, was there a night, the night before filming, that you're actually like a little bit nervous, like you're in your head a little bit thinking, how are we going to do this tomorrow?
Certainly that for me, the first day was like that, the first day of filming, and which was the first day of filming for the entire film.
Yeah, he opened us up.
We did that shot. That was that first day of filming. And for me, it was also where I get discovered by the group.
Sure.
Pollocks. That scene felt very greedy. And it was almost like a throwback for, my gladiator days.
Yeah, sure.
As well.
It must have been kind of like, not dissociating, but kind of bizarre, right?
Right.
For myself, for starters, I'm, as much as I've been a working actor for a while, it's very different sharing a screen with Djimon and Charlie and Sofia and Nikhil and Ed and Anthony bloody Hopkins. It's a whole, I think if I started looking at it as a whole, it would overwhelm me. And what I just did is I just focused on what I knew, which was the character, what I understood. And I tried my best to trust the work I'd been doing. And it paid off, I believe. But, what really made that easier and put those nerves aside was just the humility of all these actors. It was a really eclectic bunch of people, different energy levels, different types of people, but we came together and it all of that kind of fell to the wayside. We just became peers, and we just became brothers and comrades against a tough 150-day slog.
On that note, I really do hope it's a huge hit for you guys, and I'm looking forward to part 2.